Hi, I'm Bernie Fischer, adjunct faculty at University College. I want to share with you some information on managing your reputation. First of all, your reputation is your quality or character as seen or judged by others in general, and it's a place in public esteem or regard. It's really your good name. It's pure perception, and it may or may not be based on fact. Online reputation in this day and age is very, very important, and it's imperative that you are engaged with it. The monitoring of your personal and or business brand online is just incredibly important, because if there's false and negative information out there, you've really got to figure out what's the best course of action to preserve your positive perception in the marketplace. Remember, people are out there talking about you and your business. There are several influencers that are impacting your reputation. This here is from a company standpoint, and this came from the book Radically Transparent, which is a phenomenal book if you have a chance to take a look at it. And basically it talks about the fact that in a business there's several influencers. There's the country you're in, and there might be some political things going on where you're doing business or in another country. There's the competition. Something may have happened inside that industry or another like company that then creates a shadow of doubt about that industry. In addition to the behavior of the corporate individuals or employees in your organization can also have an impact. So you really want to look at it from a very broad standpoint on what are those factors that influence, in this case, a business reputation. Now, when you're developing your personal or business brand and reputation, you really want to think about how are you communicating and interacting with others, particularly online. What are the images and reputations, assets that you're putting out there about yourself, the activities you're sharing with, the interactions. These are all really, really important bits and pieces of information that, again, create that perception that individuals take a look at. The internet is a very, very powerful platform for consumer opinion and can impact a reputation. The balance of power has shifted to the people, and this was written in a book called Long Tail that Chris Anderson, who was the past editor of Wired magazine, called a phenomena such as pyramid inversion. And it's where you always wanted to know what the consumer or other people were thinking. And now we do, and it's kind of like that adage, be careful what you wish for, because now not only do we know what everyone's thinking, but they share it with everyone simultaneously. Because traditional word of mouth is one of the most powerful marketing forces out there, and social media has made it public instantaneously. So it becomes this gigantic megaphone for opinion and comments. And it can have either positive or negative implications. The thing to remember is that markets are conversations, and in 1999 there was a website that was built called the Clue Train Manifesto that talked about, they basically proclaimed that business as usual, we are at the end of business as usual, that because of all of the marketing conversations on the web, in this case, that the conversations are made up of people, and those people are talking about us. So it became this great big conversation where everyone was sharing their own opinions and comments. If you get a chance, it's a great book to look at. The book was actually published in 2000 and then updated in 2009. The key when you're dealing with reputation is to listen, is engage online, especially with the social media platforms, because you're going to get just an incredible amount of information and you're going to learn a lot from them. And you want to create a dialogue and talk to them so that you show individuals that you're interested in their feedback and you care about it, because they're going to become your biggest asset. And the more trusting toward you that they become, the less inclined they're going to be to go on the attack. One of the considerations from a stakeholder standpoint, we talked a little bit about influencers, and the same thing with a stakeholder, where there's a professional and a personal grid here, where we really need to see who in our circle that we interact with have the potential to impact our reputation. So what these grids do is they take a 360-degree view of our scope of influence to find out what do we really need to be concerned about or watching and managing. There are basically 10 rules of engagement when you're living in a kind of a digital world, to where we really need to be aware of and trust the community we're dealing with. We talked a little bit about our stakeholders a minute ago, and we need to, trust this group and join the networks that they're interacting with so that we can see what they're saying. Join the cyber hangouts they're at. And again, we want to listen and learn what's going on. We want to create quality content. When we do put stuff out there, we want to make sure that there's substance to it, that it has a value. And we want to be really careful and watch our voice and watch our tone. And this really is both for an online environment as well as an offline environment, because we want to be authentic. Because things can really, get viral, where it says here, give it legs. Sometimes things just take off, especially on, videos, things of this nature. And sometimes it's a positive experience and sometimes it's not. So we want to be really conscious of that. So that's why we monitor and manage our reputation online. But we really want to become radically transparent. And basically what that means is we want to disclose as much as we're comfortable with. That way we have kind of a baseline of, kind of drawing a line in the sand to say, this is how much I'm comfortable sharing with individuals. So, keep kind of the 10 rules of engagement as a kind of a top of mind. Google is the #1 reputation engine from the standpoint of people Google other people all the time to find out information. We Google ourselves to find out information. 65% of all searches are on Google. And as Google buys more and more social media platforms and different items like this, we really need to, be in front of what's happening on these platforms in relation to our reputation. So the question becomes, where should we monitor? Where should we go and look and find out what's going on? Because again, we want to be vigilant with our reputation and protect it, because just like our identity, we want to just, it's something that's key to our, in my mind, our business and personal survival. It's our good name. So we want to cast a wide net, or possibly focus on centers of influence. And this is, each person decides what's best for them. You can choose, and depend on your available resources, whether you have time to do this personally or you want to look at a firm to do this. Centers of influence can be industry medias and consumer blogs, employee hangouts, vertical communities, social networks that we are interacting with, our friends are interacting with, our stakeholders. So we want to really take a look at, again, what's being said out there and just kind of keep track of it. And again, here it says you can do a blended approach can work, where you can really start out with this wide scope and then bring it in once you start to see trending on how much information is really out there on certain platforms. Reputation management can either be a do-it-yourself situation, or you can hire a firm. Some do-it-yourself ways are RSS Readers. You can go out and find the ones that are relevant to what your stakeholders and your influencers are on, so you can get that information. You can set up alerts on email updates. Quite not as efficient as an RSS reader, but it's one way to possibly use this, as well as tracking software. There's software that a person can buy or that they can invoke a company to implement for them. Now, another way is sentiment analysis, where certain social media tools, here, Twitter's an example, where they've done a analytics Twitter insight for sentiment. and it talks about the negative mentions and the positive mentions, and there's your brand versus the competition and where you stand. So this is kind of again a do-it-yourself way to take a look at what's going on with a brand and in this scenario. And I think it's nice to just kind of go out there and kind of see what's being said. First steps to take, because sometimes all doesn't go well and a person puts something up there and all of a sudden you've been attacked. So what's the first thing you want to do? First and foremost, let's make sure it's legitimate. Let's talk to some of board of advisors. Let's get some trusted advice, people that we really can trust, to find out how legitimate it is. And then look at what's that level of threat? What's the damage possibility on this? And what are the considerations? What's the scope of it? How far is it spread? Did it hit major influencers? So we understand the situation. If it is a legitimate attack, then we really need to make a response from the top, okay, either us personally or from a company standpoint, and admit, you know what, this was a mistake, I apologize. We need to host a conversation, have dialogue with individuals to seek a resolution to the situation so that we can change this from a detractor perception over to an evangelist, so that they understand, you know what, I hear what you said, and I was wrong, and this is what I'm going to do to make it right. It's being authentic. Now, if there's a legitimate attack, this is what you don't want to do, okay? How not to respond to an attack. No response. That is the absolute worst thing, is to just pretend it doesn't exist. Or making an official statement or press release, because then it looks like you're hiding behind some created statement, or using fake advocates to go out there and say things, or using your attorney as kind of like, oh, okay, he's going to talk, I'm not, because it's about you and they want to hear from you or the company. Now, 3 words to live by in a transparent world is sincerity, transparency, and consistency. It's important that we really remember, and these words resonate with what we do. Now, in the book, Radically Transparent, excuse me, it talks about a 7-step action plan to take, because it's like, this can be overwhelming. You're like, holy smoke, there's a million different platforms out there. People could be saying anything. I have no idea what to do or where to go. Okay, first thing is we talked a little bit about identify your stakeholders, and then kind of conduct your own reputation audit or hire someone to do it. Uncover your internal reputation, assets, and liabilities. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly? Based on that, then figure out, what are my goals? What's the strategy and objectives that I'm going to implement to correct any of these liabilities? Build a plan to sustain your reputation. These are really important. This is chapter 15 in the book, so if you do have a chance to look at the book, go to that chapter. It's really worth your time. The last thing I want to say is there's a book called Wrapped that Andy Beal, who was the co-author of Radically Transparent, wrote, and it's a really quick read. It's 30 Days to a Better Online Reputation. A lot of the information in the 7-step plan is in here, but it helps you kind of get your arms around what should I be doing, and it's just really worth your time and worth the read. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Take care.